All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Aquatics Education Meeting. My name is Kate. I'm the Aquatics and Community Supervisor here at the Ken-Caryl Ranch, and I oversee all three of our pools. The reason for this meeting today is we're looking to educate and empower the community to be safer in and around the water. So we're really looking to up our safety at the pools and throughout the community and help educate our community to help them support our lifeguard staff. So to start, we're going to go through our chain of command. So we hire on about 50 lifeguards and about 8 guest service staff every summer. We're looking to hire 5 staff supervisors, and we're really trying to have 3 of those staff supervisors stationed at those pools on a daily basis. So the same staff supervisor will be at the same pool every day, aside from their days off. And we're hoping to build more of a community within each pool itself. That way everyone can get to know each staff supervisor at their designated pool. Then you have the Aquatics and Community Supervisor, that's me, and our Recreation Director, Amy, and then our new District Manager, Chad Maynard. So to start, why Stargard? So Stargard Elite is our aquatics risk management company. We transitioned over from Ellison Associates about 2 years ago and have really enjoyed having Stargard's guidance. They have unmatched medical direction, meaning they have 2 doctors on staff who do research for aquatic risk management, emergency medicine in an aquatic setting, as well as airway management. And so they're experts in all of this, and they provide guidance for all of our protocols, procedures, and everything we implement to our lifeguards. There are other Stargard partners throughout the area. So the City of Westminster, Carbon Valley, the City of Parker, South Suburban recently transitioned just this past summer. Wheat Ridge Parks and Rec, and Apex Parks and Rec. This is a global risk management company. So there are different countries throughout the globe that also use Stargard. So for our lifeguards, they go through a pretty extensive training process. They go through a 2.5-day course, but prior to that course, there is an online component where they go through about 4 hours of online training that we might not be able to get to fully throughout the course. We do teach our lifeguard classes in-house, so they're certified through us, and we typically provide 2 classes for all of our lifeguards to get trained in. Then they go through 4 hours of guest service training, 4 hours of an all-staff training where they learn about district policies and procedures. They do an online human resources training for anti-harassment. They do a pool-specific training. So this is where they learn the operation of each pool, and so the daily operation, what they need to be doing and when, and how different things work. And then they have ongoing training throughout the summer. So they're required to have 4 hours of monthly in-service. So this is to go through their CPR skills, their lifeguarding skills each month. And if they don't complete that, then their certification is no longer valid. So they can no longer lifeguard. So they have to maintain a certain standard of training every summer, each month. Then we do drowning recognition training. This is where we will drop a human-like doll in the water, and the lifeguards will have to recognize it and get to it within 30 seconds. And then we have monthly audits. So this is when Stargard comes out and they're unannounced, and they record our lifeguards doing their job and scanning the water, and they go to each pool, and then about halfway through the day, they announce themselves to us. So we don't know they're there. And this is when we'll go back through all the pools and check our paperwork, our emergency equipment, our emergency action plans, and make sure our lifeguard skills are up to date. So we have one of those in June, one in July, and one in August. So the reason why I went through all of the lifeguard training prior to this is because it is extensive. However, we are still doing a disservice to the community as a whole. So not just Ken-Caryl, but any aquatic community. The numbers for drowning are crazy high, and they've actually increased over the years. We have thousands lost yearly, so over 4,000 unintentional drowning deaths occur each year. Older adults, which people may not know, are more vulnerable. So 54 and older during lap swim is their highest risk of potential drowning and issues. Usually it's a comorbidity that ends up being the issue there, but it does happen. The daily toll in the US is an average of 11 fatal and 22 non-fatal drownings. So drownings are classified in two ways, fatal and non-fatal. So even though 22 of those are non-fatal drownings a day, they can still have brain damage. They can still end up in the hospital for weeks, months on end. So just because it's non-fatal doesn't mean that there was a positive outcome. And then males are at much higher risk. So nearly 80% of drowning deaths after the age of 1 are males. Young children are at the highest risk. So drowning is the leading cause of death for children 1 to 4 years old. And then the second leading cause of death just behind car accidents up to 14. So child drowning statistics, 88% of child drownings occur with at least one adult present. So even though the adult is present, doesn't mean they're necessarily paying attention to their kiddo and have their full focus on their kid in the pool. 23% of those drownings happen during a family gathering near a pool. So with distractions for the adults, they're not paying attention to their kid in the water. And drowning is the leading cause of death for children and adults with autism. So people with the autism disorder are nearly 40 times as likely to die from drowning as compared to the general population, which is why we typically encourage our patrons to let our lifeguards know if they have any medical conditions that could put them at potential higher risk of drowning when they enter our pool area. While it's not a requirement, we do try and highly encourage this just to make sure that we are aware should anything happen. So how can we combat this? How can we bring down the percentage of drownings that occur each year? Because this is a completely preventable death. So parent supervision first and foremost. Parents should, if they're under the age of 12, should be accompanying their kids to the pool at all times, and they should be watching their kiddo and within arm's reach, especially if they are not a weak or non-swimmer. So what I mean by non-swimmer is that they just don't have experience swimming. They're not a strong swimmer. So if you're at the pool for hours on end, this is where they become higher risk because they get tired, they get hungry, and they get worn out and exhausted from the heat. You might have noticed that we've increased our signage at the pools. So over this past summer, there were studies that came out to us, especially through StarGuard, that said 14 years of age is really the point in which kids start to be able to be at a pool by themselves without having any issues. However, they're still so they still make that decision at the pools at 14 years old. So we still want to encourage parent supervision, even if they are old enough to get to the pools on their own. So general pool rules and regulations. So these are posted on our website as well as at each pool. However, there are a few that I want to highlight on here. One being that we won't allow glass at the pools. This became a prevalent issue this past summer. We did have an incident at the community center pool where glass was broken. Typically, when glass is broken in or around the pool deck, or pool, we have to drain the pool in order to get all of the glass out. Reason being is this can cause severe damage to all of our filters, our equipment, as well as it puts people at risk if we don't get all of the glass of being cut and hurt. So we are strongly enforcing that there is no glass being brought into the pools. Another one that we would like to highlight is that we don't allow snorkel gear or fins. Mermaid tails are a huge hit now to where, but they restrict swimmers. So we are not allowing that because if they're a weak or a non-swimmer and they're using a mermaid fin and they need to stand up and they can't because they have a tail on their legs, it makes it very difficult for them to swim and puts them again at higher risk. So we're just looking at keeping their safety in mind. Other than that, the only other thing I want to make sure we highlight is that we are really trying to make sure that kids at the age of 12 are being accompanied by an adult. So someone who's 16 years of age or older, preferably a parent or guardian. So a hot topic is lightning. And while I know that we do leave it up to our lifeguards' discretion of hearing or seeing lightning, we typically do get a lot of pushback from the community due to hearing lightning or seeing lightning and what exactly our policy is and why it is the way it is. So lightning has been known to touch down more than 10 miles away from a rainfall area. So bolts can travel 6 to 8 miles long, but can easily travel anywhere from 25 to 40 miles horizontally, meaning that just because there isn't a storm directly above our pool, we are still at risk if it's in the area. That being said, as we all know, water conducts electricity. So if you're in the water, you are being put at higher risk of something happening if you're in the water during a thunderstorm. So a frequent myth is if it's not raining or there aren't any clouds overhead, you're safe from lightning. But as I just stated, lightning strikes can travel far outside of the thunderstorm clouded area. So the reason why we keep our policy within a 10-mile radius and that 30 minutes, it has to be outside of that 10-mile radius in 30 minutes is because we are looking for we're looking for there until 30 minutes after the last clap of thunder, because we are looking to keep everyone safe and out of that body of water. Okay, so our weather policy derives from our aquatic risk management company. We receive guidance from them on all of our policies and procedures. So we look for that storm to be outside that 10-mile radius for at least 30 minutes. So whether we see, hear, or it shows on our weather bug radar, which is what the app we use to monitor weather, we close down the pools. That being said, if you find that there's discrepancy between what the lifeguards are telling you is happening and what you're seeing on the radar or what you've heard and seen happening with the weather, we encourage you to reach out to either myself or Amy or a staff supervisor at the pool to look for clarification and explanations. So, how much training does a doctor, nurse, paramedic, EMT get to provide emergency care in an aquatic setting? Well, the answer is none. Lifeguards are the highest trained emergency care provider in an aquatic setting. So in the event of an emergency, that's why we look to lifeguards for their guidance, because even if there's an off-duty nurse or doctor at the pool when an emergency is happening, they have not trained for that specific environment. So they're not familiar with the equipment, they're not familiar with our emergency action plan procedures, and they aren't familiar with what exactly is going on and how we typically provide care. So we need to be encouraging and looking to our lifeguards for guidance on how to handle an emergency situation. And that being said, it's not to say doctors and nurses and paramedics can't be great resources in an emergency. However, the lifeguard should be the one directing the emergency when something happens. So that being said, some of the challenges we face is that we have very young lifeguards, most of them being about 15 years old. So when they're telling adults or their peers what to do or to follow the rules and enforcing the rules, typically it isn't met with compliance, and instead they're met with aggression or non-compliance and in not following the rules. So we are looking to help encourage our lifeguards and empower them to enforce the rules more often and more frequently, even with those adults and peers. And we need your help to make sure that, you know, us as community members are following those rules. Another thing I'd like to point out is that we want to coach these lifeguards. These are young kids entering the workforce for the first time. A lot of them, it's their first job. And we really want to coach them in how to present themselves and how to operate in a workplace setting, as opposed to demanding. So we are trying to meet them with compassion when they're maybe not doing something as appropriately as they should be at work. The other big thing is parent supervision. So while I know it's hard sometimes for parents to make it to the pool when their kids are coming all the time, we do try to encourage parents to get to the pools and to be there, because there are many issues throughout the summer where we have teenage, middle school kids right between that age of being able to get a job, but also you can still come to the pool on your own, that are causing issues, and they're not listening to our lifeguard staff, and they're taking away from the lifeguard's main focus of watching the people in the water to ensure they're safe. When we're pulling their focus away because we're trying to reprimand them for doing things they're not supposed to, roughhousing, pushing each other around, bringing things into the pool that they're not supposed to, flooding the bathrooms, those kind of things, again, their focus is being taken off their main duty of keeping the pool safe and the patrons in it. And lastly is communication. I would love to encourage everyone to reach out should they have any issues at the pool, and whether that's filling out a survey that we have posted at every pool each time you go with good and things that we can improve on, or reaching out to me directly. I'd like to encourage that so we can give you guys the why behind a lot of the things that we're doing. So back to behavior at the pool. Our lifeguards, again, priority is to ensure a safe and enjoyable environment for everyone at the pool. So we want everyone to be mindful of their actions. This is adults included. So unsafe behavior will result in interventions from the lifeguards, and in some cases may lead to restrictions on pool use. Because of this, we have had to reprimand people in a way that takes away their privilege of coming to the pool because they're making it so unsafe for others to be there alongside them. We do appreciate when people can come to the pools and follow the rules and provide a positive experience for everyone. So guard placement in zones. So I want to update everyone on where lifeguards are actually supposed to be when they're on duty. So at each pool, we have a minimum amount of lifeguards that we are required to have watching the pool while the pool is open for open swim. The ranch house pool, we are required to have 3 lifeguards. You'll see in the diagram on the PowerPoint that we have 1 lifeguard stationed at the dive well, 1 lifeguard stationed at the big lap swim lane part of the pool, and then 1 lifeguard in the kiddie area. All 3 of these positions are required, and there should be a lifeguard there at all times during open operation. If anything, there should be an additional lifeguard on stand should we have a high bather occupancy. However, this is the minimum requirement of that pool. If at any point in time you guys are seeing something different happening, we do encourage you to immediately go up to the lifeguards or the staff supervisor on duty and ensure that there's something to correct that behavior right away. The community center, we are requiring 2 lifeguards to be on stand. 1 should be in each chair, and then 1 lifeguard needs to be stationed at the top of the slide at all times. At Bradford Pool, we require 1 lifeguard to be on the big pool and 1 lifeguard to be on the little pool, while the last lifeguard should be doing the guest service check-in. Lifeguards at no point in time should there be multiple lifeguards off stand unless a staff supervisor is directing them to do cleaning duties or do some training. But at all times, otherwise, lifeguards should be in these positions when we're open and operating. We're looking for you guys to help support our lifeguards by filling out a survey every time you go to the pool. This survey will directly correlate to recognition for lifeguards. So we are building a recognition program where if you mention a lifeguard's name and they get so many mentions, then they'll get a prize for doing a good job. And an alternative to that is if you guys are having any issues at the pool, we recommend you also place it in here as well, because we'll be checking this frequently and be able to adjust based on your feedback. So Ken-Caryl Ranch, we have some aquatics updates. We do have new bathrooms coming in at Bradford. There's a new shade structure at the ranch house. And Lifeguard Appreciation Day is going to be July 31st. This is actually also the National Lifeguard Appreciation Day. We really want to recognize our lifeguards and the work that they put in throughout the summer, as well as encourage them as first responders in an emergency. If you guys end up having any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is listed on the PowerPoint, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.